You've been knocking so long, your knuckles are bruised. You've jiggled every handle, whispered every prayer, watched doors close like clockwork, and still nothing moves. But beloved, what if I told you that delay isn't denial? What if the door you're meant for is waiting on divine timing, not your anxiety? You have cried in the dark when no one was watching. You have clung to promises that seem so far off they feel more like fairy tales than future truths. You've done everything right, followed the path, obeyed the call, stayed kind when bitterness would have been easier. And still, the doors remain shut. Still, the breakthrough has not arrived. Still, you're waiting. But beloved, I want you to breathe for a moment. Just breathe, because what you're calling a delay may very well be divine preparation. What feels like a standstill is often the stillness before the rise. It's the deep inhale of the universe before the exhale of manifestation. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. See, when a seed is planted, it disappears from sight. It goes into the dirt, into the dark, into the unknown. But beneath the surface, a process begins. Roots stretch, foundations form. The soil presses in on every side, but it doesn't suffocate the seed. It strengthens it. It teaches it how to push through, how to hold on, how to draw from deep waters. And eventually, at the appointed time, the earth opens and the seed becomes visible. But the delay wasn't absence, it was preparation. And so it is with you. When you feel hidden, when nothing seems to be blooming, when you feel like you've fallen off the radar of blessing, understand this: you are being rooted, you are being readied, because God is not interested in building something flashy that will collapse in a storm. He is building something eternal in you, and that kind of glory takes time. You don't bake gold in the microwave, you refine it in the fire. There is something in the delay that cannot be skipped. There's a character that only the quiet can shape. There's a resilience that only the waiting can teach. You can't fake it. You can't force it. You have to go through it. And though it may feel like the promise is retreating, it is, in fact, maturing. The blessing you are asking for is also being formed to fit the fullness of who you are becoming. You see, God does not give fragile gifts to unprepared hands. He loves you too much to let you enter a room you're not yet equipped to handle. So when the door doesn't open, ask not, "Why am I denied?" Ask instead, "What am I being developed for?" That change of heart is the beginning of wisdom. Because it's not just about getting what you want, it's about becoming the kind of person who can steward it. The job you thought was perfect, the relationship you thought would complete you, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers, they were not detours, they were disqualifications by grace. You may not understand it now. You may be grieving the timeline you imagined. But when you see the fullness of what God was preparing, you'll thank Him for every delay. Because the wait taught you how to hold joy without fear. It taught you how to trust in silence. It taught you how to bless what you didn't understand and worship through the wilderness. Delay is the sacred space between your petition and your promotion. It's the training ground of giants. It's where David learned to sing in caves before he ever sat on a throne. It's where Esther fasted in the shadows before she stood in royal light. It's where Jesus himself retreated to the wilderness before stepping into his purpose. Delay is not the enemy, it's the proving ground of destiny. So take heart. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. Do not confuse silence with absence. Do not let impatience blind you to the divine orchestration unfolding on your behalf. Heaven is not late, heaven is exact. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are in the care of a God who weaves purpose into every pause. And while you wait, let your faith stretch deeper than your fear. Let your hope rise higher than your doubt. Let your spirit be softened, not by despair, but by trust in divine timing, because the promise still stands. The vision is still alive. The dream is not dead, it's just being dressed in glory. And when the time comes, when the door opens, when the blessing pours out, you will not be unready. You will rise not as someone who barely made it, but as someone who was built for it, sculpted in silence, anointed in obscurity, strengthened in stillness. You may not see it now, but one day you'll bless the doors that never opened. You'll sit with your peace in a quiet moment of reflection and finally understand that what felt like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like loss was layered with mercy. Because every door that refused to move when you knocked, every opportunity that slipped through your fingers, every relationship that crumbled when you tried to hold it together, those weren't punishments. They were protection. See, the human mind is eager. It wants what it wants, and it wants it now. It plans, it pushes, it persuades. We look at a closed door and immediately think, something's wrong with me. I must not be good enough. Maybe I missed my moment. But I want to tell you this with the full weight of truth. God does not slam a door out of cruelty. God closes doors to shield what your eyes cannot yet perceive. That job you cried over, that person you pleaded for, that move you dreamed of, if they were yours, if they were truly meant to build you, God would not have withheld them. But God, in all his wisdom, sees what we cannot. He sees the traps hidden behind opportunities that shine too bright. He sees the delay wrapped inside the thing you think will accelerate your life. He sees the heartbreak waiting in the arms of someone you swore was the one. And in love, not anger, in mercy, not judgment, he closes the door. Not to deny your future, but to protect your becoming, to protect the vision he placed within you that still needs time to root and rise. It takes spiritual maturity to look at a closed door and not curse it. It takes deep trust to stop banging and start bowing, because the door that's shut in your face may have spared you 1,000 sleepless nights. The no you received may have been the very thing that kept your spirit intact. You think you were strong enough for it, but strength is not the same as readiness. And God, who is the keeper of all time, knows not just what you desire, but what your soul can carry without collapse. Sometimes the door isn't closed to harm you. It's closed because there's healing that still needs to happen in you before you walk into that next season. Sometimes that perfect opportunity was only perfect from the outside, but it would have stripped your joy on the inside. Sometimes what you call delay is actually divine safety. God doesn't just give you what looks good, he gives you what is good, even if it means saving you from yourself. A closed door will challenge your pride. It will humble your timeline. It will make you feel forgotten and misplaced. But it will also draw you into deeper discernment. It will push you to develop the parts of yourself that can't afford to be weak in the next chapter. It will stretch your dependence. It will make you check your motives, question your pace, and fall into alignment with a higher rhythm. The door may not open, but your spirit will. Don't you know that God is too intentional to waste your tears? Every closed door was permitted to shape your patience, not your punishment. He's not saying no because he enjoys your struggle. He's saying not now because the version of you that is trying to step through that threshold hasn't yet become the version that can sustain what's on the other side. And God doesn't call you to glimpses of destiny. He calls you to fulfillment. That means nothing partial, nothing rushed, nothing that will poison you slowly while pretending to bless you loudly. Closed doors are painful. Let's not pretend they aren't. But pain does not always mean punishment. Sometimes it is protection in its most loving form. And if you would dare to trust that the same God who brought you through the last storm knows how to guide you in this season of silence, then you will begin to see the beauty in what didn't happen. You'll stop mourning access and start honoring alignment. You'll stop praying for a key and start asking for discernment. You'll stop doubting your worth and start embracing the reality that your path is divinely guarded. Closed doors are not signs that you've fallen out of favor. They're often proof that you are deep within it, because favor does not always say yes. Sometimes favor will whisper, not this, not yet, or not here, because something greater is being prepared behind a different door. A door that you didn't notice. A door that doesn't need to be knocked on because it will swing open the moment heaven declares, now they are ready. Let the door close. Let it lock. Let it stand silent. And instead of pounding with panic, step back and listen with trust. Not every access point is sacred. Not every open door leads to life, but every closed one, touched by the hand of God, is part of your becoming, part of your protection, part of your preparation. You have been carrying it all, the pressure, the deadlines, the questions that echo without answers, the weight of showing up when you feel half alive. You've mapped out plans and rewritten them twice. You've tried to hold every piece together like cracked glass in trembling hands, hoping that if you just do a little more, hold on a little tighter, maybe, just maybe, it won't all fall apart. But beloved, what if the falling apart is not a failure? It's a sacred invitation. What if the unraveling is where the divine begins to weave something stronger? What if all this time your striving has been standing in the way of what grace has been trying to give you freely? What if God is not asking you to do more, but to let go? Let go of the illusion that you have to fix it all. Let go of the lie that your worth is measured by how much you produce, how fast you climb, how long you can go without breaking. Let go of the need to control outcomes you were never meant to carry, because there is a holy truth that the world forgets to teach you. When you rest, God works. Rest is not weakness. Rest is warfare. It's the bold decision to trust that your breakthrough does not depend on your exhaustion. It is faith in action. When you rest, you are saying, God, I know you are bigger than my circumstances. I know you are still moving even when I stop running. I know you can hold this life better than I ever could. You were not created to constantly prove your value. You were created to be, not just do. You were created to walk in rhythm with something eternal, something holy, something that does not require performance to pour out blessing. There is no award in heaven for being the most exhausted. There is no medal for never taking a breath. There is only the quiet truth that in your stillness, something sacred is stirred. When you rest, God realigns what was scattered. He restores what was stretched thin. He gives you back your vision, your strength, your clarity. You begin to see what you couldn't see while spinning. You begin to hear what you missed in the noise. You begin to feel again, to feel joy without guilt, to feel peace without explanation, to feel loved without earning it. Control is a heavy burden. It demands constant vigilance. It whispers lies that say if you rest, you'll fall behind, that if you let go, everything will collapse. But faith whispers a better truth, that what is for you cannot be taken by rest, that what God has ordained for your life does not evaporate because you paused. In fact, it manifests when you surrender. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop clenching. It means you loosen your grip long enough for God to place something better in your hands. It means you stop building walls with worry and start laying foundations with trust. Think of the lilies in the field. They do not toil or spin, yet they are clothed in glory more radiant than royalty. Think of the birds of the air. They do not sow or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? Then why do you carry what God never asked you to? Some of your greatest battles will not be fought by force, but by faith. Some victories will not come through effort, but through release. Through the moment you fall to your knees and whisper, God, I've done all I can. Now I give it to you. That's when mountains move. That's when doors open. That's when chains break, not because you fought harder, but because you rested deeper. Rest is not an interruption to progress. Rest is progress. It's where your soul grows, where your heart heals, where your spirit returns to the rhythm of grace. It's where God moves while you trust, where heaven touches earth not because of your hustle, but because of your surrender. Let go. Not because you're given up, but because you finally understand that peace is found not in control, but in trust. And trust is built in the quiet moments when you choose to rest and God begins to work. There is a kind of peace that comes when you finally understand this truth. Not everything your heart longs for needs to be chased. Not every dream has to be wrestled into reality. Not every door is yours to knock down. Some things, some divine things, come not by force, but by flow. They come when your spirit is still enough to receive what your hands have been trying too hard to control. We live in a world that teaches us to grab, to strive, to push, to run faster than our own breath. We are taught to hustle for what we want, to sacrifice sleep and silence for status and security. But what they don't tell you is that anything you have to force, a relationship, a job, an opportunity, a friendship, is already resisting your spirit, and your soul knows. You feel the tightness in your chest, the friction in your bones, the way your joy leaks out in pieces trying to hold together what's not meant to last. Forcing things may get you the surface, but it won't give you the substance. It may get you the appearance, but not the alignment. And soon, you'll find yourself worn out from managing what was never made for you. Because what's meant for you carries its own kind of ease, not perfection, but peace. Not absence of effort, but absence of resistance. It fits. It meets you. It matches the truth of who you are without demanding that you contort, shrink, or perform just to keep it. When something is meant for you, it doesn't ignore the quiet cries of your heart. It sees you where you are. It honors your growth. It supports your healing. It understands your boundaries. It stays, not because you begged, but because it belongs. There is a flow to purpose, a rhythm to destiny, and you can't access it by trying to bend life to your will. You access it by coming into alignment with your soul. But let's be honest, letting go of force is hard, especially when you've been taught that wanting something enough means you should do anything to get it, especially when you're afraid of missing out, of being left behind, of not measuring up. So you chase, you strive, you fight for what looks like it could make you whole. And in the fight, you forget the simple, sacred truth. What's meant for you cannot be stolen, delayed, or destroyed by human hands. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to trick it. You don't have to manipulate time, people, or circumstances. That's the work. Not pushing, but preparing. Not forcing, but flowing. Not proving, but positioning. Because the more you heal, the more you grow. The more you love yourself rightly. You start to recognize what resonates with your truth and what merely flatters your fear. You start to discern what aligns with your purpose and what just feeds your ego. You stop chasing chemistry and start choosing connection. You stop running after the familiar pain and start opening to unfamiliar peace. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. And you are not empty-handed. You are in a sacred unfolding. Life is not punishing you. It's positioning you. The detours, the delays, the disappointments, they are not evidence of failure. They are signs of divine redirection. They are proof that what you are truly meant to hold must be grown into, not grabbed at. And don't let anyone rush your process. Just because their door opened before yours doesn't mean your door is closed. Just because they found their way sooner doesn't mean your time won't come. What's meant for you is tailored for you, and you wouldn't want anything less. So take your time. Let the wrong things fall away. Let the false attachments break loose. Let your heart grow soft again, not guarded, but wise, not closed, but clear. You were not created to beg for love, to hustle for belonging, to twist yourself into versions that feel palatable just to be accepted. You were made to walk in truth, in light, in purpose. And anything, anyone that is truly yours will recognize that truth. They will be drawn not to your performance, but to your presence. So let this be the season you stop forcing what doesn't fit. Let this be the moment you start trusting that if you let go of what's not meant for you, you'll make room for what is. Because you are not in a race. You are not running out of time. You are arriving. You are awakening. You are aligning. There are doors in your life, doors of opportunity, healing, peace, purpose, love that do not respond to effort alone. They do not respond to logic, to overthinking, or to frantic motion. They do not yield to fear's trembling hands. These doors are ancient and sacred. They were never meant to be broken open by force. They are unlocked by one key alone: faith. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the courage to walk forward despite it. Faith is not denial of reality. It is trust in a higher reality, one that sits above circumstance, beyond logic, and deeper than the eyes can see. Faith is not a luxury for the spiritually elite. It is the lifeblood of the soul that refuses to be ruled by fear. It is the decision again and again to believe that there is more than the pain, more than the confusion, more than what you lost or never had. Fear keeps doors shut not because the doors are locked, but because it convinces you not to even try the handle. It whispers lies in your ear. You're not enough. You're too late. You'll fail like last time. Don't risk it. Don't hope. Don't move. And so you stand before the very thing you've prayed for, longed for, cried over, and you freeze. Not because you lack the ability, but because you lack the belief. Fear builds invisible prisons. You move through life in circles, bumping up against barriers that aren't even real. You second-guess your voice, your calling, your dreams. You minimize your own gifts. You shrink around people who couldn't carry your light. You hide your brilliance behind what-ifs and not-yets. And every time you let fear guide your steps, another door, another destiny stays closed. But faith? Faith is holy rebellion. It stands at the same door and says, I may not see how, but I believe it's possible. Faith presses forward when fear says retreat. It reaches for more when fear says settle. It speaks when fear says silence. It loves when fear says protect yourself. It moves when fear says stay hidden. Faith is not always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet resolve. Sometimes it's the whisper in your chest that says try again. Speak up. Apply anyway. Open your heart once more. That whisper is not weakness. It is divine instruction. When you walk in faith, you begin to see how many things were waiting. Not for you to be perfect, not for conditions to change, but for you to believe differently. For you to shift your posture from begging to receiving, from doubting to expecting, because your belief shapes your reality, not magically, but spiritually. Belief opens doors in the invisible that begin to change what is visible. The way you speak changes. The way you carry yourself changes. The energy you give off changes. And doors that once seemed shut begin to swing wide, not because the world changed, but because you did. Your faith is not just a feeling, it is a force. It carries weight in the realm of spirit. It disrupts patterns passed down by fear-based living. It silences the voices of lack. It breaks cycles of settling. It says to every closed door, you are not the end of me. Faith is disruptive. Faith is radical, and it must be chosen, especially when fear is screaming louder than truth. Some of the greatest miracles in your life won't come because you worked harder. They'll come because you believed better, because you dared to believe that something higher is at work even when you can't trace it, because you decided that fear would no longer be the narrator of your story, because you stood before a locked door and said, if I perish, but I will not stay silent, stagnant, or small. The moment you stop worshiping fear is the moment you start seeing how much more was possible, not because it suddenly appeared, but because fear had been clouding your vision. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a system of control. It limits movement, interrupts flow, and keeps you from what has always belonged to you. But faith tears the veil. It lifts the illusion. It shows you that the door was never locked, only guarded by your unbelief. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to choose faith one step at a time. Speak when it's hard. Show up when it's inconvenient. Move when you're unsure. Trust when it feels risky. And in doing so, you reclaim your power from the hands of fear. You will begin to see how much was waiting for your yes, how much heaven had stored up behind doors you were too afraid to knock on. Your future is not built by force. It is unlocked by faith, and faith is yours to wield. You don't earn it, you own it. Use it, believe differently, and let the doors swing open. There is a difference between running and rising, between desperately clawing for a way out and calmly, courageously walking into what is meant for you. Life, in its divine wisdom, does not open doors based on how badly you want to leave your current situation. It opens doors based on how ready you are to become the person who can stand inside that new space without crumbling. Desperation is loud. It comes with panic and restlessness. It says, anywhere but here. It tells you that your value lies in the next thing, the next title, the next person, the next job, the next version of your life. But readiness is quiet. It says, I trust the process. It walks with clarity. It's not about escaping the discomfort, but embracing the transformation that discomfort requires. Because the right door, your door, requires more than a wish. It requires willingness. And sometimes life will close every wrong door until you finally understand that it's not about the door. It's about the you who's walking through it. You can't fake alignment. You can't manipulate divine timing. You can't trick the process into skipping the lessons meant to prepare you. You have to become. And becoming is not always easy. It asks you to release what you've outgrown, even if it once felt like home. It asks you to let go of survival habits that kept you alive, but now block your growth. It demands that you confront your fears, your patterns, your need for approval, and your impulse to run when things get uncomfortable. The right door knows your name. But it will wait for you to know your own worth before it opens. Not because you are being punished, not because the universe is cruel, but because purpose will not give itself to the unprepared. There are opportunities you could not carry yesterday without them crushing you. There are blessings you would have self-sabotaged if they came too soon. There are connections you would have mishandled if you had not first healed what was broken inside of you. Desperation asks, how do I escape this? Readiness asks, what do I need to learn here? That shift changes everything. Because desperation creates cycles. You rush out of one job, one relationship, one city, only to find yourself in the same storm with different scenery. Why? Because you escaped, but you didn't evolve. You ran, but you didn't rise. You changed your location, but not your patterns. The door you were so eager to run through was just another version of what you were fleeing from. You have to be willing to be still long enough to let your roots grow deeper. You have to be willing to sit in the fire without losing yourself to fear. You have to allow the tension to do its work. That uncomfortable space between who you were and who you're becoming is sacred. It's where growth lives. It's where the old self dies and the real self begins to breathe. The right door opens when your inner world is strong enough to hold what's on the other side. When your boundaries are firm. When your vision is clear. When your energy is protected. When your sense of self is no longer defined by what you're running from, but by what you're walking toward. It opens when you are grounded, not grasping, when you are anchored in your truth, not drifting in your fear. It's easy to feel frustrated in the waiting, easy to think you're being overlooked, forgotten, or punished, but the waiting is not a wasteland. It is a workshop. It's where the unseen work takes place, the strengthening, the clarifying, the refining. Every delay carries a divine fingerprint. Every not yet is pregnant with purpose. Your job is not to panic or to prove. Your job is to prepare. Let the silence teach you. Let the solitude sharpen you. Let the delays develop you. Let the unanswered prayers mature your faith. Because when you're ready, truly ready, the right door doesn't need to be kicked open. It opens gently, naturally, like it's been waiting all along. And you'll walk through not because you're desperate, but because you've become. So stop rushing. Stop chasing what doesn't see you. Stop begging for shortcuts. Let yourself rise slowly and fully. Let yourself be worthy of the space you're about to enter. Because when you're ready, ready in spirit, mind, and soul, the right door will not just open, it will welcome you.